Drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you don't want to see King die this season of Seven Deadly Sins. What's up, everybody? East Blue here today. Hopefully, you all having a good day. Today, we're going to talk about the new episode of Seven Deadly Sins, Encounter with the Unknown, episode 2 of this season. So to start off, I had to wait another episode to see if things really was improving or if it was just my eyes trying to believe it. But honestly, after watching this episode, I think this studio's stepped up for Seven Deadly Sins. It doesn't look as bad as the last season, and I'm actually really happy about that. I mean, I could be talking too soon before we see any major fight scenes, but so far so good from what I'm seeing. I'm enjoying it. I haven't had any complaints really, and now let's get into the episode. We start off the episode with a nice heartful reunion with Bond and Meliodas, and I gotta say, and I've been saying this since I read the chapter when it came out, Bond is probably the realest guy in the whole series, going back for Meliodas like that. Like, he said a lot of mess up things without knowing it to Meliodas, but when he did this, I really thought, like, for sure, Bond was the realest. Not even thought. I knew Bond is the realest homie. And everyone needs a Bond in their life, so if you don't have a Bond, go out and find one. With the nice reunion and them finally reuniting, Meliodas asks Bond what is he doing there, leading with Bond telling him that he wants to bring him back to the living world. Naturally, as anybody would think, if somebody came for you all the way from the human world to go to purgatory, you would think they have a plan to get out and escape. But no, not Bond. He just dives right in. But that's my point. Bond is such a real homie that he didn't care how to get out. He didn't think about it. He just knew that he wanted to get Meliodas out and back to the living world. So he just goes right in, only determined and not thinking of any other consequence. So he tells Meliodas he doesn't actually know how to get back to the human world, and they're going to have to figure it out from that point on. And off they go. And as they do set off to try to figure out a way to get back, we see a big figure in the background watching over them. Meliodas and Bond run into some monsters in purgatory, and Meliodas explains how once they beat them, they could take their cloth from them and make clothes out of it. And so they begin, trying to take the cloth from them slowly. But it doesn't turn out that way, because Meliodas loses all his strength and doesn't have the same powerful body that he has in the human world. In this world, he's just a soul, and he's pretty much weak. Afterwards, he ends up explaining to the Bond how his father, the Demon Lord, put a curse on him, so every time he dies, he returns to purgatory. And if you don't know why, the reason for this is he wants to make Meliodas his successor into becoming the Demon King, reasons being unknown currently. After a million tries, what it seems, and getting completely tired out, Bond eventually beats these monsters so they can finally make some clothing for themselves. Bond was a little confused because he thought when he came to Purgatory that Meliodas would be imprisoned by the Demon King and it would be much harder to find him. Meliodas then explains how he was driven to such despair that eventually he became a monster, so the Demon King felt safe to let him wander free afterwards. For the record, can you imagine this monster Meliodas unleashed in the human world with his full power? For you people who haven't read the manga yet, wait till you see Meliodas' true power later on. Afterwards, they decide to get all dressed up, and Hobo Bond becomes Clean Shave Bond again. Now you can peep the fresh new drip that they have ready to get back to the human world. And soon after that, they start running away from some more monsters and talking about their goals and what they're going to do when they get back. Starting with Meliodas saying how he's going to break the curse with Elizabeth and then eventually drink the best Vanya ale around. And with Bond claiming that he's going to resurrect Elaine once and for all. Now I do have a question, and this is just for my curiosity. At one point in the series, I saw some people were shipping Jericho and Bond before Elaine came back in the picture. Now how do you guys feel? Do you prefer Elaine and Bond or Jericho and Bond after seeing what kind of chemistry they might have? Personally, I'm more of a Bond and Elaine shipper, so you guys let me know in the comments down below. Monsters finally catch up with Meliodas and Bond, and Meliodas, again being in this world and weak, gets trapped by some monsters and Bond is forced to save him. It's really different compared to when they were in the human world and we had OP Meliodas. We then see Bond take out all these monsters with ease. Chef Gordon Bond whips up these monsters into some meat for Meliodas and him to chow down on. And Meliodas gives him some props after getting used to this place when it can turn anyone else crazy, as we've seen with Merlin's dad in the previous season. Bond laughs it off and says it's probably just because he's immortal, but no, Meliodas really does give him props saying even with an immortal, it's an impressive feature to keep his sanity together, and he's probably the only one that's ever going to do it in the future. After a bit more chit chat, eventually we do see that big figure that was watching them in the beginning pop up again as he's watching them from another corner. And Meliodas and Bond, being who they are, sense them. This creature is a boar named Wild, and he's in search for his younger brother and tells Meliodas and Bond to cooperate if they want him to help them to guide him to the Demon Lord. Meliodas and Bond instantly think of Hawk, as they resemble so much. But as they say Hawk's name, Wild doesn't recognize who they are talking about, claiming his younger brother's name is Mild. They head back with Wild to his place, and he shows them around. Eventually, he tells them the story how after birth, his brother was kidnapped by the Demon King and sent to a different place from this world. Quickly, Meliodas has an explanation for this, saying his dad, the Demon King, sends over watchdogs to watch over him when Meliodas is in the living world, as we see former reincarnations of all the pets that's been watching over Meliodas. Sorry, I shouldn't say pets. Hawk is definitely way more than a pet. That dude's a badass. I don't care what anybody says. But we do see Wando in the background over there. Poor Wando. This enlightens Wild's heart, as to know his brother is actually safe and still living, and he still has a chance to meet him somehow. This turns into a nice scene where they end up eating together, and Meliodas and Bond ends up telling Wild some stories about his little brother, as Wild is curious. And it ends up being so bad for Wild that he ends up having to breathe in the bag and hyperventilating because some of these stories just seems too much for him to hear. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first read this in the manga, I was shocked. I had no idea that Hawk in a million years would be a spy. I mean, not that he actually knows that he is, but it's still cool to find out that pretty much he's just sent to this world to watch over Meliodas, and he's just getting reincarnated. Now we cut over to the battle with the Archangel Ludociel against Zeldris. Zeldris isn't playing around, is going to show one of his original magic powers called Bad Nebula. Okay, so now is the time to complain a little bit and critique the anime right here. Bad Nebula, in my opinion at least, it looked way more hype in the manga, and I felt like the anime should have hyped it up a little bit more than what it was. But other than that, I thought it was okay. It wasn't like the manga, but it was doable. It was still doable. Now, if you're wondering what Bad Nebula is, it's a force field with a strong suction force that's generated around Zeldris. It targets only living things. And as everybody around him soon figures out, magic attacks are also invalid against him. And Merlin comes to the conclusion that perhaps it's another power coming from the Demon King. Now I really love this next scene. Ludociel, one of the archangels, has a pretty much high ego and tries to command Escanor to help him out when he's getting sucked in by Bad Nebula because, he can't help it. But Escanor isn't complying at all whatsoever. He's like, no. Basically, he's like, yeah, do this yourself. I ain't gonna do nothing for you. That's when Merlin steps in. He's like, Escanor, you can cooperate. And he just saves her right afterwards. He's like, all right, I'll do it. It's no problem. By the way, I forgot to mention, as they were getting sucked in by Bad Nebula, Merlin ends up just teleporting over and over again to avoid being sucked in. And that leads Ludociel curious to what her true identity is of the magical power of Merlin. And I cannot wait for you guys to see what it is. Merlin is really she's slimy, and at the same time, she's a genius. So I can't wait for you guys to see the reveal. I won't spoil because this isn't the video that I'm trying to make today, at least. But if you guys are curious about who Merlin truly is and how she ends up being who she is, just comment down below and I'll make a video about her and her origins. It's actually pretty great. To end the episode out, a storm happened with Meliodas, Bond, and Wild, and they waited it out for a little bit, but now the storm is over, and they're all on the search to get back to the human world, with Wild traveling with them to see his cute little brother, Mild. Or so he says, cute little brother. Now we wait for next week's episode, episode 3, called The 7 Deadly Sins, The Judgment of Anger, One-Sided Thoughts. I can't wait for you guys to see more of Wild. He's actually one of my favorite characters, despite him having so little screen time. But just the care and affection that you're going to see that he has for his little brother, it's actually really nice to look at. And here's a random fun fact. In the manga, Meliodas and Bond, when they were walking around Purgatory in the beginning, they were actually both naked. In the anime, they actually decided to put some kind of form of clothing on them. I'll let you guys look at the chapter and look at that. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and let me know what you guys want to see more of. I'll be trying to do more Seven Deadly Sins video. I'm gonna try to do Promise Neverland next, as soon as I watch the next episode. Eventually, I want to do Jujutsu no Kaisen because that's the hot topic right now. So you guys just let me know. Have a great day, and I'm out.